engaged. We are using physical paper cash. Some of us prefer Visa or MasterCards. Some of us, mobile means or electronic means of transacting. But innovation is constant. Humanity is always looking for better ways to do things. And the future form of transacting has a very fancy word. Many of you may have heard of the word cryptocurrency. But let me demystify that word. Most of us Kenyans, we are used to something known as bonga points. You buy airtime from Safaricom, and then, you get bonga points. At one point or the other, I believe all of us may have already, spent bonga points, either at a supermarket, at a petrol station, somewhere. But what is for sure is that none of us has ever touched, bonga points. They don't exist physically. So Bitcoin is in the same category. It's not a physical form of a currency. It is a virtual, a digital form of a currency. Now, let's move on. For somebody to use Bitcoin or to interact with Bitcoin, very quickly, you need to install a Bitcoin wallet. To do so, on your device, you go to Play Store, you go to App Store, you search for Bitcoin wallet. You'll notice there are hundreds of them to choose from. The most popular of the lot is this one by Blockchain. Once you install one, like I did in 2016, you are now able to send and to receive Bitcoin from any other person all over the world who would like to send or receive Bitcoin to you. So most of the Bitcoin wallets out there, including this particular brand by Blockchain, allows you to store multiple cryptocurrencies within the same wallet. That's why you can see in this wallet here, we have Bitcoin, we have Ethereum, we have Bitcoin Cash, and also we have Stellar. So always remember that a Bitcoin wallet allows you to store multiple cryptocurrencies within the same wallet. Now, let's move on, and now let's cover the basics. Let's cover the fundamentals. Why is Bitcoin valuable? That's perhaps the biggest question in the room today. Why is Bitcoin worth 730,000 Kenya shillings? Why do you need over $6,800 to buy one? There are three answers. I'll skim through them very quickly. Number one is that Bitcoin is limited in supply. There is a fixed amount of it that will ever be available in circulation. And that big fixed amount is 21 million units. So with my engineering mind, I was asking a very practical, a very simple question in 2016. And I was asking, is 21 million not too little as far as circulation issues are concerned? And I was very impressed to learn that, let's say today, for example, if I needed to pay somebody 10 Kenya shillings, or even to buy a banana, for 10 bob, yet the vendor is asking me to make the payment using Bitcoin. How much will I pay? You can see the answer on your screens. 0.000014 over full Bitcoin is equivalent to 10 Kenya shillings. Why the many, many, many zeros, you could be wondering. Normal currencies, the dollar, the euro, the pound, we can divide them to 2 decimal places, but one single Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million, smaller units. That's why you see with Bitcoin, there are so many decimal places. Let's go back to the beginning for Bitcoin. Bitcoin was born, as you can see right there, on the 3rd of January 09. This is 11 years back. When Bitcoin was innovated, it was a brand new concept. It had a value of 0. It wasn't known, whether it will attract any value or not. But we can clearly see by the end of 2012, on the 28th of November 2012, to be precise, the value of one Bitcoin, as you can see, was worth $12. So we moved from a value of 0 to a value of $12 in a period of 4 years. Two other things happened during the first 4-year cycle for Bitcoin. Number one is that out of the 21 million Bitcoins, 50% of them, which is 10.5 million Bitcoins, were created and added into circulation, as you can see up there, at a rate of 50 new Bitcoins every 10 minutes. This was the first 4 years for Bitcoin. And then a very interesting phenomenon happens at the end of every 4 years for Bitcoin. It is known as halving. Halving means that the number of new Bitcoin coming into circulation is going to reduce by 50%. So you can see very clearly during the second 4-year cycle for Bitcoin between 2012 and 2016, the value of one Bitcoin moved from $12 to $657, whereas another 5.2 million Bitcoin vaults were created, added to circulation. This time round, the rate had also reduced. It had come down to 25 new Bitcoins every 10 minutes. And then, of course, we are right now, as we engage, we are in the third 4 years for Bitcoin, which began you know, in 2016. It's almost actually coming to a conclusion. Let me check it out together with us. So this is known as the Bitcoin block half. It is a website that tracks down the number of days left before the next Bitcoin halving event takes place. And we can see clearly on the 26th, after 26 days, on the 12th of May, the number of new Bitcoin is going to reduce by, you know, 50%, as it has done so twice already. So I believe right now you get the drift, you get the pattern, you get the sequence. You now know how new Bitcoin is added or created into circulation. So when is it going to end? Look at that scale there. So the halving will continue every other 4 years until the year 2140. 120 years to come. Where are we going to be? Let me not start another discussion there. But why the case for Bitcoin? I wish to remind you all of basic economics. Every basic economist will teach all of us that whenever there is diminishing supply in anything, obviously scarcity will come in. And as long as there is demand, what happens to the value? The value appreciates. So this has been true for things like land, you know, things like oil, things like gold. Very practically right now in our present day and age, what is the cost of hand sanitizer? What is the cost of facial masks? Or what are the costings of ventilators? Their values have gone up. Why? Because there is more demand for them than there is supply actually. So let's now look at the other reason. There are two other reasons. Number one is that it is very cheap to transact with Bitcoin. And I'm going to show you a practical example about that. But for me, I like the third reason the best. The third reason states that Bitcoin is also the best store of value, especially for our generation. In the generation of our parents and our grandparents, the best store of value was obviously, you know, land for them. That's why many of us have inherited ancestral land. But for our generation, I submit to all of us today that the best store of value is actually Bitcoin or variants of Bitcoin. And I would like us to prove this point. All of us, let's engage in this exercise. I would like all of us to think back to the year 2012. Let's think back 8 years ago. 8 years back, I'm sure myself, I was in business. Some of you, maybe you were in employment. Some of you were still in school. It doesn't really matter. What is common amongst all of us today is that in the year 2012, none of us had the understanding, had the knowledge about Bitcoin. Because if we had the knowledge or the understanding of Bitcoin in 2012, all of us would have bought one Bitcoin for as little as $4, 400 shillings. Just imagine. Now, let's make this even more fun and a bit painful. Now, let's assume, for the sake of understanding, that each of us in the year 2012 had spent only $1,000, which is 100,000 shillings, and would have bought Bitcoin. So if all of us had done so with 100,000 shillings in 2012, all of us would have bought 250 Bitcoins. Today, how much will we all be having in our portfolios? 183 million shillings. Just imagine, this is the painful part. 100,000 shillings in 2012 today is equivalent to 183 million shillings, because if somebody had pegged it to Bitcoin as opposed to keeping it in, cash or dollars or euros. I'm sure some of us, are now thinking, Nani nilinunua shamba, or maybe you bought stocks and shares, or maybe you invested in a business, or maybe you went for treasury bills or treasury bonds. It doesn't matter. We all missed out on this opportunity because of lack of knowledge, because of lack of information. So from today, that obviously has now changed. Now, let's move to part 2 very quickly. How can we therefore accumulate and acquire more Bitcoin, as we now see why it has the value? There are 4 ways. Number 1 is that we can buy Bitcoin. But remember, a Bitcoin is divisible to 8 decimal places at the very minimum. So you can buy Bitcoin even for $100, for 100 shillings rather, or $1. You could buy Bitcoin for 1,000 shillings or $10. You could buy Bitcoin for 10,000 bob, which is $100, or maybe the same 100,000 we are talking about, which is $1,000. Or perhaps you're well endowed, you can buy Bitcoin for $10,000, a million shillings, or maybe 10 million bob, or maybe 100 million. So you can buy any amounts of Bitcoin and then hold on to them and wait for their value to appreciate. Now, let's look at it once again. What has Bitcoin done, you know, in the last 10 years? I think this will give us a better idea. What has Bitcoin done in the last 10 years? You can see very clearly, we have moved from a brand new concept, you know, 10 years ago. 10 years ago, Bitcoin, as you can see, had a value of zero. Today, one Bitcoin is $6,800. From zero to 6,800 in a period of 10 years. Now, let me ask all of us, what do we think is the most likely value of Bitcoin going to be 10 years to come by the year 2030? 10 years to come. Where do we think the value of Bitcoin is going to be? For me, I am believing at, $10 million for one Bitcoin. Is it going to get there? You know what? God is going to keep all of us. And 10 years from today, we are going to remember today. The information that we are looking at on our screens was actually released in the year 2018, which is 3 years ago. And they had predicted that by the end of next year, by the end of 2021, which is 19 months to come, the value of one Bitcoin could be as high as $100,000. You can see that on the top left of your screens. Is it going to happen? You know what? We are all going to find out. So second strategy that we can use to accumulate Bitcoin is that if we are engaged in business, like this lady on our screens, if we are running a business, we can now allow our clients, allow our customers the option to also pay us using Bitcoin, the same way that this lady did in 2017. I really celebrate Betty in Nyeri because she became the first business in Kenya, you know, to allow customers to pay using Bitcoin. Has it worked out for Betty? If you look at it historically, in the early days of 2017, you know, one Bitcoin was, you know, averaging about $1,000. You can see January 2017, a Bitcoin was, you know, $800 thereabout. But right now, one Bitcoin is 6,900. So whatever Bitcoins that Betty may have received when Bitcoin was less than $1,000, today she's obviously 6.9 times happier because the value of Bitcoin, as you can see, has appreciated quite a bit since then. The third strategy that we could use to accumulate Bitcoin is that we can also get involved in trading. We can buy and we can sell Bitcoin as a business. Now, the oldest platform that allows individuals like us to get involved in trading is known as localbitcoins.com. Localbitcoins.com was started in a country known as Finland. This is 11 years back. Right now, they have a footprint in about over 248 countries, including Kenya, obviously. So if you click on Kenya, for example, you can see there, it will show you who are the buyers, who are the sellers of Bitcoin right now in real time. To buy a full Bitcoin in Kenya today would cost you $742,000. If you needed to sell a full Bitcoin right now, how much will you? Oh, see, this is the price for selling. I beg your pardon. And let's look at the price for buying. There will be a differential, obviously. So you can see there's a difference of between at least 20,000 shillings between buying and selling, Bitcoin. So those are three ways. Let me now introduce you to the fourth way of accumulating Bitcoin, and it is known as mining. Initially, when I heard of the word mining, I thought of digging, I thought of excavation, I thought of Ikolomani. I'm sure some of you, your minds may have already taken you there, So remember, Bitcoin is a digital form of a currency. It's not a physical form. So it is not excavated physically or minted physically like we know coins. This is a digital process. Let me give you a very good example. Somebody may have given you a check in the past. You took it to the bank. Your bank and their bank did clearing. Money moves from one bank to another. Of course, the banks will charge a minimal fee to facilitate such transactions. And whatever the banks do, their regulator is obviously the central bank. It is the role of the central bank to also issue or to print new currency. In Kenya, I think we experienced new notes last year. Let's look at Bitcoin in comparison. So if I go to my Bitcoin wallet right now on my device, I can go to my Bitcoin wallet address. Now, from my Bitcoin wallet, I can send Bitcoin over to somebody who has, a Bitcoin wallet address. That transfer of Bitcoin from my wallet to their wallet does not go through the bank. Instead, we have people who are known as miners. And it is the role of miners to verify and to validate transactions involving Bitcoin. For doing so, obviously, they are paid minimal fees. And apart from the minimal fees, they also get something bigger, something more appetizing, known as a block reward. And then anything that the miners do, their records are kept on another piece of technology that is known as blockchain. So let me explain what I mean by a block reward. So right now, as we are engaged in this learning, there are hundreds and thousands of Bitcoin transactions going on right now on a global scale. So all those who are presently and currently involved in mining, all of them, they are in competition. And they are all competing to verify transactions involving Bitcoin. Now, whoever beats the rest of the competition within those 10 minutes will become the proud owner, listen to this, of 12.5 new Bitcoin. 12.5 new Bitcoin is what is known as a block reward. Now, let's look at the value of 12.5 new Bitcoin, and you'll understand why, for me, this is my preferred option to accumulate Bitcoin. Look at that number. 12.5 Bitcoin right now, as we speak, is equivalent to 9 million Kenya shillings, 9.1 million. If you had a business that generates for you 9.1 million in 10 minutes, I am absolutely sure you would not be on this Zoom meeting today. As Kenyans say, ungekuwa mahali ukirudishia mwili shukrani, you know, and of course, giving thanks to God. So just with a light touch, obviously. So for me, when I saw this, I knew two things. Number one, that Bitcoin mining is extremely competitive. Number two, that it's also extremely rewarding. So what I'd like to do now is just to play a small 2-minute clip that was initially aired by BBC. This is way back in 2017. And the purpose of this clip is to help us understand by looking at something visually, what, you know, all this is all about. So I would like to indulge in your attention for the next 2 minutes. Let's listen and watch.
Using your normal bank card, this is what happens. I give my card details to the shop. The shop asks the bank if I'm good for the money. Bank checks its records to see if I've got enough in my account. If I do, it lets the shop know. It updates its records to show the movement of money from my account to the shop's. Now, if you wanted to remove the bank from that system, not alter them or cheat in any way. In fact, I wouldn't trust any single person, but I might trust everyone. The idea is you don't have a central record of transactions. Instead, you distribute many, many copies of this ledger around the world. Each owner of each copy records every transaction. So, to buy something using cryptocurrency, I give the shop my details. The shop asks all the bookkeepers if I'm good for the money. The bookkeepers all check their records to see if I have enough. If I do, they tell the shop, and then all update their records to show the movement of money. So there's no way that a forged transaction can make it in. If I try to alter a ledger, it won't match all of the other copies. It gets rejected. Oh, and one of them, at random, will be given a reward of some newly created cryptocurrency. This is how cryptocurrencies work. And remember, all of these bookkeepers, all of these ledgers, they're not actually people. They're computers. Lots of computers.
Excellent. I hope you are able to pick up something in as much as I've just seen a message from Emily that it was not very audible or very clear. My apologies for that. I'm going to just talk about that. Number one, when I first saw the video, for me, there are two things that really stood out, captured my attention. Number one, we all saw that everybody has copies of records. The element or the act of everybody having copies of records is the technology that I spoke about, known as blockchain technology. We all notice something, that once a record has been captured, has been entered onto blockchain, it becomes a permanent record. You cannot delete it, you cannot alter it. So it means we could also use blockchain technology for so many other things. There's a report that you should get your hands on. It was authored by the Kenya Blockchain Artificial Intelligence Task Force. This is a government-led task force that was chaired, by a very good friend, Professor Bitange Ndemo. In that report, they have given some brilliant recommendations. One of them is that the government should consider using blockchain technology to secure land title deeds. I think we all know that problem in our nation. You buy land, you do all that is required of you, you get your title deed, but on the day you want to begin construction, then lo and behold, 2, 3, 4, 5 people show up, bearing similar titles, the same one that you also have. Why? Because of corruption. So in future, if our government uses blockchain technology for that, then obviously we become the only custodians. Nobody else apart from you can alter that record. Let's move on. Let me show you or use another simpler example. I believe all of us here, we've used our Visa cards or MasterCards before. Now, let's think about it for a moment. You give out your Visa card, you put in your PIN, you wait for a few seconds. In those few seconds, as you are waiting, what is Visa or MasterCard actually doing? They are all verifying transactions, making sure that you have sufficient funds to cover the transaction that you are making. Myself, and I believe most of us, we've never really sat down to think or to ask ourselves, how much money does Visa actually make? So I took the trouble, and I'll show you what I found out. So I just went to Google here and I searched the market capitalization of Visa. Now look at the numbers that popped up. That is revenue for 1 year, $20.6 billion. Let me say it in Kenya shillings. It is 2 trillion Kenya shillings in 1 year. To be able to generate 2 trillion in a year is commendable. It's amazing. Think about it. Our annual financial budget as Kenya is $27 billion, 2.7 trillion shillings. So one platform, one company who doesn't even own any bank is generating, over 2 trillion shillings in a year. Let's look at another example closer home. Most of us here, I believe we are all users of M-Pesa. Look at the numbers for M-Pesa. I'm sure some of you are, munaumwa na kichwa already. This is in 1 year. Last year, M-Pesa generated revenues of 74 billion shillings. For doing what? For facilitating the movement of 3 billion shillings amongst Kenyans on a daily basis. That was the daily average for M-Pesa last year. So obviously, they're providing us with a service that is needed and required. Let's look at what Bitcoin is doing in comparison to Visa, in comparison to M-Pesa. So go to blockchain.com, click on data, and then click on Bitcoin Explorer. You can see unconfirmed transactions right here. Right now, at this very minute, as we engage, there are over 4,000 transactions awaiting verification, awaiting confirmation. That's a lot of transactions, obviously. So we can actually see the transactions as they stream in, in real time, so that you can really appreciate, the work that miners are doing right now. So you can see the time is right now 11:30. You can see the amount in Bitcoin. You can see the amount in USD. I've just nipped a huge transaction there just to demonstrate how cheap it is to transact using Bitcoin. So this is a 34-digit encrypted code. This is known as a wallet address. So Bitcoin has left this wallet address in blue here, and the total amount of Bitcoin that has been transferred is this one of 29.4 something Bitcoin. What is the value of 29.4 Bitcoin right now? You can see the value is about 20 million shillings, 204,000 US dollars. So I mentioned earlier that it is very, very cheap to transact using Bitcoin. How cheap is it? Let's have a look. So for somebody to send somebody 20 million shillings, $204,000, it has only cost them, listen to this, 31 US cents, 0.31 US cents. In Kenya shillings, that is 31 shillings on average. Imagine, to send somebody 20 million and to be charged, 31 shillings. My God, this is just absolutely cheap. And I mentioned earlier in my third slide that transactions involving Bitcoin are very cheap, and you can see what I meant, obviously. Now, let's remember something. When email came, what happened to the post office? When email came, when email came, we all forgot about the post office. Nobody told us to stop going to the post office. It is something, scientists call natural progression. Once we experienced, a more convenient, a more efficient way of transacting, we all progressed to it. Nobody told us to stop going to the post office. Now, let's look at something else. Let's look at. I'm looking for another example. Let's look at Uber. Some of you might remember when the first Uber cars, came to Kenya. Some, traditional taxi drivers even burnt a few cars to discourage that technology from picking up speed. But today we all know what happened. Some of you might remember when M-Pesa was starting out. Remember all the banks ganged up, and sued Safaricom. If you remember, they sued Safaricom for engaging in financial transactions, yet they were having a telecommunication license. Today, we all know how that story ended. You go to a bank today, you find an M-Pesa teller or an M-Pesa counter. You engage in mobile transactions today, every single bank has a pay bill number. So they always say, if you cannot beat them, what do? You join them. So technology and innovation is like that. You're either ahead of the curve, you're with the curve, or you are a laggard. So for Bitcoin, I believe the same is panning out already. So remember, there are 4 ways. Number 1 is that you can buy Bitcoin. Number 2, you can accept Bitcoin. Number 3, you can trade Bitcoin. And number 4, you can get involved in mining. Now, initially, when I had mining, as I mentioned, I thought of digging, but obviously I've already explained that this is a digital process. So there are 2 options as far as mining is concerned. Number 1 is that you can buy your own equipment, connect your own electricity, connect your own internet, and of course, get into the field, start competing with all the other miners all over the world. This is what is known as solo mining. You're mining alone. You're mining by yourself and for yourself, obviously. The second option for mining is known as pool mining. Pool mining, it is very similar to the cooperative movement. It is very similar to the circle movement. It's very similar to, for the ladies who are listening, it's very similar to your chamas, that you belong to. I'm sure most of the men here don't belong to chamas, but I believe all of them have a favorite football team. So for the men, think of the football teams. So in the concept of the pool mining, like-minded investors come together. They collect or they buy equipment collectively. They install them centrally, and then they leverage on economies of scale. You compete with each other to verify and to validate transactions, for Bitcoin as an entity, as a single entity, as a pool. So the pie chart that you are looking at is the top leading Bitcoin mining pools in the world. And, good news or bad news, depending on how you want to look at it, 93% of the leading Bitcoin mining pools in this pie chart, they are all Chinese. So you must be wondering, does China have to dominate with everything? There are 3 things that allow China to dominate as far as mining is concerned. Number 1 is that, their electricity obviously is relatively cheap, compared to the rest of the continents. They are also the leading manufacturer of the equipment used for mining. And then number 3, their internet speeds are relatively fast, compared to the rest of the continents as well. So those 3 factors have allowed the Chinese to dominate as far as mining is concerned. So for me, in 2016, when I had to evaluate, the 4 options, I obviously decided to do pool mining as opposed to solo mining. Now, last year in the month of July, I traveled to this country known as Kazakhstan to go and look at a brand new mining facility that had just set up in Kazakhstan, and to see whether it is it was better for me to shift my mining allegiance, as I call it. My first 3 years, I was mining with an American platform, but obviously there is a lot of dominance from the East. So for me, I wanted to make sure it would be the right move to make. So I have some pictures that I took when I was in the trip There we have them. Let me just talk about them. So, yep, this is my winning team. I would like to introduce you to them. Hannah Pinza, the lady standing on my left on the photo. She's been my good friend for the last, from 2006. That's a long time. That's what, almost 16 years, I believe. So I'm so grateful that when Hannah understood Bitcoin in early 2016, she let me know about it. And of course, I'm so grateful that she remembered me. I always say that many of your friends or many of our friends, when they come across opportunities, very few of them have that spirit and the heart, to share. Many of them would be quiet about it and just enjoy, the joy by themselves. But I'm so glad that Hannah, chose to enlighten me about this. And today, my family, we are so grateful for her. On my right-hand side in the photo is John. John is from South Korea. Is my very good friend, my mentor in the business. He's only 32 years young. I called him my grandfather in the business because of the amount of results that he has achieved. I cannot wait to get at his level. And then the gentleman pointing with his left arm, his name is Eyal Avramovich. He's from Israel. He's been an innovator for well over 20 years. And some of his innovations have really succeeded. Number one of his innovations was taken up by, was bought off by Sony. Another of his innovations, did very well on Amazon, grossing almost $10 million in sales. So you can check out his profile on LinkedIn and you'll be very happy to see what Eyal has done, obviously. And I'm so happy and grateful that he's the one who discovered, how cheap it is to mine in Kazakhstan, because that has given us an advantage. Zolani on the right-hand side is from South Africa, my good friend, my partner. So we had, as Kenyans say, we had gone to the ground to make sure, in Swahili, B2C or tofauti, just to make sure that things on the ground are not different. So you can see a fantastic installation. Let me show you the setup. The setup is really commendable. So they took normal containers. Inside every container, they were able to fit in about 500 miners. And then, there were 20 containers in total. If you calculate the total number of equipment that is running in this farm is 10,000 of them, which is of course a lot. It is very, very heavily and well secured. We have the fencing that you saw. We have electric fencing. We have 24/7 CCTV. And also we have, former military personnel who are there to make sure that our installation is 99.99999% secure. Once COVID has cleared up, and I'm sure it is going to do so, we will organize another trip for those of you who may like or who may want to go and look at it in person. So while I was there, I recorded a small, tiny video inside one of those containers. Let me play it for you so that you have a complete visual of what happens inside one of those containers. Let's listen. Yep. So at least you've had a virtual tour of one of those containers. So you saw what is happening on the inside. These are just, basically, think of a data center, and their work is simply to compete and verify transactions involving Bitcoin. So for me, after going all the way, to verify that things on the ground are not different but exciting, I decided, obviously, in the month of July last year, this is something I have to invest into. And I did, I did invest, in Mining City. So in Mining City right now, we are mining two types of cryptocurrencies. We are mining Bitcoin, obviously, and we are mining something else more exciting as well, known as Bitcoin Vault. Let's see. If you look at the world of cryptocurrencies, obviously the most valuable cryptocurrency is Bitcoin. It is also the most mined cryptocurrency. It is the most traded cryptocurrency. And let me show you some numbers. This is going to shock all of you today. In the last 24 hours, the amount of transactions involving Bitcoin that has been transacted is $42 billion. You heard me right, $42 billion in the last 24 hours. Now, let me pull out something. Visa in 1 year does $20 billion. Bitcoin in 1 day does double, what Visa has done. So what does that say about what I was saying earlier, natural progression? Where do you think the world is now moving to? I think I don't need to say more. So, Bitcoin, what I like about Bitcoin is that the core technology is known as open source, meaning all of us, we can actually create our own cryptocurrencies. But the biggest challenge has been, if I create a cryptocurrency, what value is it going to offer to the world? What solution is it going to solve, for the world? If you look at Bitcoin, I think you now understand what Bitcoin has solved. If you look at Ethereum is the first cryptocurrency that allowed us, or brought in the concept of smart contracts. I talked about, title deeds on blockchain. It was first innovated by Ethereum. If you want to develop applications on blockchain, most likely you're going to do them on the Ethereum platform. And then Ripple, Tether, Bitcoin Cash, there are hundreds of them. And every cryptocurrency has offered a solution to the global marketplace. And of course, the fact that they are ranked the way they are ranked means whoever is in number one has offered the most value, to the open marketplace. Now, in life, there are positives and negatives. One of the biggest drawbacks that Bitcoin and all the cryptocurrencies had for the past 10 years has been the fact that if you send your Bitcoin to somebody by mistake, or let's say by bad misfortune, somebody steals your Bitcoin and transfers them to another wallet, then there is no recourse. There is no way for you to reverse that transaction, which was obviously a bad thing and a good thing, depending on where you are looking at it from. And for that, for me, I'm so happy that the second cryptocurrency that we are mining, known as Bitcoin Vault, has actually solved that problem. So Bitcoin Vault has solved that problem that has been there for the last, for the last 10 years. And it is every time I look at this, I am just, shaking my head literally. I'm shaking my head literally. So Bitcoin Vault has some similarities with Bitcoin, and you'll understand why shortly. There are 3 similarities I would like to highlight. Number 1 is that the total number of Bitcoin Vaults that will ever be in circulation is 21 million, just like Bitcoin. And then number 2, the equipment or the algorithm that is used for mining Bitcoin Vault is also the same equipment, the same algorithm that Bitcoin uses as well. The third similarity is that the average block time for the issuance of new Bitcoin Vault is also 10 minutes, just like for Bitcoin. So there is, however, one clear distinction. There is one clear difference. And this is the clear difference. In the last 11 years, from 2009 up to today, a total of 18 million Bitcoins have already been mined, which is representing 87.28% of the total supply of 21 million. So already 87% of Bitcoin has been mined. The remaining 2.6 million Bitcoins will be mined over the course of the next 120 years. Now, what does that tell us? It means we missed out on the best days for Bitcoin. The best days for Bitcoin was the first 4 years. During the first 4 years for Bitcoin, that was the best time to mine Bitcoin because 50% of all Bitcoin were mined in the first 4 years. The second best time was obviously the second 4 years. 25% of all Bitcoin were mined during the second 4 years for Bitcoin. And as far as even buying them for accumulation purposes, it was the best time to buy Bitcoin during the first 4 years, or the very latest during the second 4 years. Now, we missed out on that, obviously, but I'm so happy, I'm so glad that Bitcoin Vault has given us that second chance, that second opportunity. So we started mining Bitcoin Vault in December last year, on the 16th of December to be precise. And the block reward for Bitcoin Vault has been very, very aggressive. You can see 175 Bitcoin Vault every 10 minutes. Yet for Bitcoin, 10 years ago, it was 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes. So you could be wondering, why is the block reward for Bitcoin Vault, much, much, much bigger than how it was for Bitcoin between 2009 and, of course, 2012? It is because right now, as we speak, as I've mentioned, there is already 18.3 million Bitcoins in circulation. So what Bitcoin Vault aims to do is to catch up with the number of Bitcoin that is in circulation. And how is it going to do so? By being aggressive in the block reward during the 4.5 years. So by the time we get to November of 2023, 4 years to come, we will have caught up with the number of Bitcoin that will be in circulation, which by then, both of them will be at 19.687 million Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Vault will be at par. So where is the opportunity there for, ladies and gentlemen? This is where you pay the most attention now. Let me log into an existing account so that you can see and appreciate, why for us this is really something. This is going to shock all of you today. Let me just log into an account which is about 2 months and about 2 days old, 62 days in mining. Just a quick recap for all of you. In Mining City, we mine either Bitcoin or we mine Bitcoin Vaults. Whichever cryptocurrency you choose to mine, as far as the investment levels are concerned, you could choose to start off with a standard plan, costing $500, or the one for 1,000, the bronze plan, or the silver plan, or perhaps the best one for me is the gold plan. Whichever plan you choose to mine, your mining contract is 1,100 days, which is at least 3 years. Of course, there are provisions that allow us to extend that beyond the 3 years. And then your mining starts 10 days after purchase. So if you purchase your plan today, 10 days from today, you'll start enjoying, mining profits. The equipment we are using currently is one of the fastest in the market, known as a Watts Miner M21S. The cost of mining in Kazakhstan, you can see right here, 4 shillings and 75 cents, 0.475 US cents per kilowatt hour. And then let's look at some actual results now. So this is a plan that was paid for on the 3rd of February this year. It started mining, as I mentioned, 10 days later on the 13th. How much has it earned? And you can see this is the gold plan. It cost about 370,000 Kenya shillings to pay for it on the 3rd of February 2020. Wow, this is what I love. This is what I like so much. Can you see the number on your screens? 38.8 Bitcoin Vault has been mined in a period of 2 months and 2 days. Today, it is trading for how much? It is worth $2,000. This is absolutely amazing. Let me calculate something known as the return on capital. How much has been realized from what was invested, in a period of 2 months and 2 days? So allow me to round this off to 100 shillings to the dollar. So I'm going to divide 205, 8112 by the total amount of Kenya shilling that was invested during on the 3rd of February this year. So 205,812. I want to divide that by the total amount that was invested to buy this plan, and that was 370,000 Kenya shillings. So far, oh my God, in a period of 2 months and 2 days, a total of 55% has been realized. So a 55% return on capital invested in only 2 months and 2 days. That is absolutely off the charts. For those of you who value and like investing, the best return on investment that Kenyans have experienced last year was actually 16%. So 16% was realized after a period of 1 year. But with Bitcoin Vault mining in 2 months, we are at 55%. I don't think I need to say more. So what I'd like to do now is allow for questions, allow for comments. If you have a question or a comment, 2 options, you can actually type it out. So let me just send out a chat here to everybody here. All right, let me just type out, this is the time for. time for comments or questions. So you can type it out, or you can unmute your microphone and then you can ask away. Or you could also raise your hand and then I'll be able to unmute you so that you can ask away. But I'm so excited, about the information that you are looking at, on your screen. Bereket, welcome. I can see you joined while we had started. Elizabeth Ngumi, Karibu Sana, welcome. Yep, somebody has sent a chat here. Let me see what they are asking. All right, Bereket, thank you for the compliment. Thank you for the compliment. I'm so grateful that this has been valuable information to all of us. Let's see. Somebody else has also sent out a group chat. Okay. Oh, Bereket, Salamno, you're from Ethiopia. And then Gilbert is from Kericho, that is my village, I will say Chamge Misik. Salam Bereket, glad to see, to hear, glad that you could join in. Was wonderful. David Sidma, you're most welcome to listen again. I have another session at 2 p.m., David, and then another one at 8 p.m. And then the last one for today is going to be at 10:30 p.m. So Ivan Sutati, thank you for the compliment. I'm so glad that this has been valuable information. So what I'd like to do, with your permission, allow me to invite Emily. Emily, to share her testimonial. I want you to hear, they say gender balance. Let's listen from Emily, how this has been a fantastic opportunity for her and of course her family. Let's listen from Emily. Hello, Emily.
Hello, Raymond. Wow. Thank you so much.
Yes,
thank you so much. That was so informative. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to share my journey. For those who don't know me, my name is Emily Rotich. I'm a mother of 4 and a wife, of course. My background is in the hospitality industry, used to work for Emirates, and back in Kenya, I came back and worked for KQ as an in-flight attendant. There are things that I didn't like about my work, so I decided I won't do it for long, and I decided to resign. The things that made me resign, I didn't like working odd working hours, no holiday, no Christmas, and all that. And then I had no time for my family. As you know, that work you need to travel so much. So I decided to resign, started a business, which we were doing with my husband. We were doing construction and a bit of transport. And we had a lot of challenges, but that is how it was. And then in 2018, someone introduced to me about cryptocurrency, which was very, very new to me. Very, very new to me. I didn't understand. I'd never had even just hearing a word Bitcoin. So I had my fears, but there's one thing that attracted me to it is the money that people are banking in the business. And I remember so well asking Raymond, after he had shared, he had made so much, very good.
Emily, I think you hit the, sorry, you had hit the mute button, but now go ahead, Emily. Go ahead, Emily.
Okay. So I remember asking Raymond, what do I need to do to make all the money that he had made? And I remember him sharing to me and saying, all that you need to do, Emily, is just to invite, share with people, share to anybody that you know. And you know what I did? I decided to do that. I left everything that I was doing and decided to concentrate on the business full time. And this is what I do till today, and I thank God. So what has been my results? Why am I happy and excited about the business? Time freedom. I've been able to get time freedom. Like now, we know what is going on, but I'm comfortable making money at comfort of, my home. Another thing is that I'm headed to financial freedom. That is what I've always asked God to give me. And I thank God I'm seeing this sooner. Okay, another thing that makes me happy is that every day I keep changing people's lives because I share with them about the business. And if they decide to do it and invest, of course, every day they get something in their pockets, and that is very important to me. And then another very important thing is that I've been able to
Emily, go ahead again.
It's calls. It's people calling. Sorry. Another thing is that I've been able to secure inheritance for my children. Why is it this? At times,
you're so much in demand, Emily. Go ahead.
yeah, sorry. At times I imagine if I was still working as an employee. Today, my sister still do the same work and they are back home and paid leave. And today, I thank God. You know what? All my four children are mining. All my children, as you know, they're mining bitcoins and they're mining Bitcoin Vault, and I thank God for that. So, what I'd like to encourage everyone listening to me today is one thing: this is a golden opportunity given to you. You know why? Bitcoin Vault is very new, just 4 months old, very new. Bitcoin mining passed us 9, 10 years ago. At times, I ask myself, if somebody told me to mine Bitcoin when the price was when the price 9, 10 years, the price was in cents, 25 cents, $4, $65, and today it is worth $6,500. Could it could, if I did that, if somebody shared with me that, how much could I be worth at this time? You know what? That time passed us. We are happy and grateful to God that Bitcoin Vault is still new. We are just 4 months old. Imagine I saw Bitcoin Vault in December 16th where the price was $6. Today it is at $50.
It's
And where are we
52,
headed
Emily.
to? $52. Okay. And where are we headed to? $1,000. Now you've heard about this. It is the best time for us to mine Bitcoin Vault, and I thank God for that. So there are two ways that you can earn in Mining City. One is passively. What do I mean by passively? You can comfortably buy your shares just the same way you buy shares with Safaricom or bank or wherever. Wait for 10 days, and then from the 11th day, get your income, daily income. This is now your money working for you. Very important. And I like to quote this, what Warren Buffett says: if you don't find a way to make you money as you sleep, you will work till you die. This is very important. You know what? There are work that we do that if we don't wake up and go and work, there's no income. That is so risky to us. So I thank God for the passive income that Mining City has offered to us. Second way to earn in Mining City is to do this as a business, doing it actively. This is actively building the business. But please note, for those who don't like talking to people, this is completely optional. You don't have to do it. And I repeat it, it is completely optional. You don't have to do it. But if you decide to do it, if you want to make crazy money, of course, there is work to be done. And we'll show you what to do about it. So there are 5 levels of commissions when you decide to do this as a business. And I thank God for this month. For the past 15, 16 days, I've been able to earn $7,600. That is very important to me. I've achieved a rank of city manager where you get a bonus of $3,500. That is 350,000 Kenya shilling, and a blockchain phone. Raymond, please share with everybody listening to me today. It is
It's on the screen.
it is the newest ever blockchain. I can't wait to receive it at the end of the month, and I thank God for that. So, for those listening to me today, please let's share with other people. There are people at home struggling. They are not sure whether they'll get their job back. Let's share. This is free information. You've gotten it free. Maybe it may not be for you, but there's someone that really needs it. Please let's share with other people. So let me finish by sharing a favorite quote by Sir Richard Branson. This is a Form 2 dropout, very successful, owner of Virgin Atlantic. I know many of you know him. He says, if someone offers you an amazing opportunity and you're not sure you can do it, say yes, then learn how to do it. Please, this is huge opportunity. You may not have understood it. Like I remember first day, like 2 months, I didn't understand it. But learn as you earn, you learn every day. And then I want to say one thing. I was so skeptical about this technology when I was shared to, and I can tell you for free, we have 99% outside there which are really scams, and this has let other people really miss the real opportunity. So we are here to educate people. Invite your friends, invite your family. We'll be able to share the opportunity with them. Thank you so much, everybody, and thank you, Raymond. Be blessed. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Emily. I really, really appreciate your testimonial. And I hope you had it very well. $7,600 in the last 16 days. That is just off the charts. And to be able to generate that level of income right now in the current depressed economic environment is obviously really fantastic. So thank you so much, Emily, and congratulations. Keep on winning. And the phone that she talked about is right in front of your screens. This is known as a Mindbest Smile S1 phone. You can see it has two screens. The very first phone for me to see that has two screens. You can see the quality of that camera is just off the charts. Look at that. You can only get this phone by ranking up in Mining City. You cannot buy it outside there. And within Mining City, there are only 2,000 units. It's what, usual, they always say limited edition. There is only a fixed amount available. So congratulations, Emily, from being the first Kenyan, to actually qualify and get this phone. And I think maybe the fourth person in Africa. So well done, Emily. Congratulations again. So what do you do next? For me, there are two things. Number one, I think somebody is asking a question. Let me see. Well done. Gilbert Kirui, you're so lucky to be working with Emily. So make sure today, Gilbert, you take decisive action. So for me, there are two things you can do. Number one is that if you have found this information valuable, then do not be selfish with this information. Whether if your spouse or your sibling or your loved ones, people that you care about, if they haven't known, if they haven't understood what Bitcoin can do for them, then you can invite them to the next session at 2 p.m. or 8 p.m. or even 10:30 p.m. Share the same link with them, and they'd be able to also come in and listen to the same information the same way you have had. And by God's grace, it will be valuable to them as well. The second thing that you need to do is obviously now make a decision. Is this something that can add value to your bottom line? You have seen 205,000 shillings has been earned passively in the last 2 months and 2 days. That's an average of 102,000 shillings every month. Which opportunity allows you to generate over 100,000 shillings every month passively right now in this, tough economic, environment that we are all in. So that's my advisory. Whoever invited you, whoever shared the link with you, make sure you get in touch with them today and you communicate to them and share what you like best and ask them to show you what do you need to do, to get started as soon as possible. So I'm so grateful. I thank God. I think, I'm so grateful for Mining City for this amazing platform. So allow me to bring this to a conclusion. And I say, God bless all of you. God bless your dreams. God bless your families. And if you have to step out, let's maintain social distancing. Let's put on the masks because we have got to win against this COVID scenario. Thank you so much, Berekat. Thank you so much. I think, was it Amase Genalo? How you say thank you in Amharic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And have a wonderful day, all of you.